So recently I made a video about this game that I make. Oh, that's not that recent then. So let me just explain myself a little. After that video, my disk, which contains all the game files, like all the sprites and stuff, the game itself, and like all my other Unity projects, that disk kind of, died on me. So for a while I thought that I had just lost, all my work. But I got it back, so I'm ready to work on the game again. Now, in the last video, I said that I was gonna make online stuff in the game, and that was the original plan. But while I was working on the network stuff, I realized that, the player was just slightly off. So I spent a lot of time just fixing the player slightly, just changing some of the numbers on like the weights of some of his body parts, which isn't that hard, but it's just pretty boring. And I came to a realization that if I was to finish up my online stuff and the way that I have it, I need to have two different players, one that's like an offline player and one that's an online player. That means that if I do that first and then afterwards I realize that there's a problem with the player, then I would have to fix both of them, which is just kind of annoying. So the new plan is to make the offline stuff perfect first, so that the player actually feels good before I add online and I don't have to fix the player twice. So the new plan is to put online at the end of the list, and honestly just do that last maybe, or one of the last things. Now skins, that was actually pretty easy. At first I thought that I would have to manually go in there and recolor all of the player sprites, but I found out that in GIMP you can just do like a quick color change on a filter, so that went pretty easy, and I just had to come in there to just fix some slight things. But eventually I made 8 different player skins, which includes the default one, the blue one, a yellow skin, a green skin, an orange skin, and a purple skin, and also a black and white skin. And that was that. And I thought that it would be better if I just thought of some game modes first, and I eventually came up with 6 different game modes, those being co-op, versus, capture the flag, basketball with endless, and racing. Now the first thing that I did was make a level for the racing game mode, and for that level I created a new block which spins around so that the player just grapples onto it and gets a lot of extra momentum. And get ready for the name, it's called the spinner block. And then after that I made the rest of the level, and this is kind of how it turned out. And the level making process is a little different than what I'm used to, because in the previous game that I'm working on in my main project, I use something called a tile system, which is way easier to make. And after that it was a basketball, and that was pretty easy because in that one all you had to do was make a ball that bounces and 2 hoops that check if the ball has gone through them, and then if the ball has gone through them, you just ding, add a score. As easy as that. And the most difficult part was just making it so that the player could actually hold on to the ball, because that's a little bit tricky. And after that, the next game mode I chose to make was endless, and how that works is it's basically just keeps on generating new blocks randomly, which just makes, well, the level endless if you can stay alive. And I also made it so that the camera constantly moves to the right and doesn't follow you, so that you have to kind of move at the same speed of the camera, and that makes it a little more difficult. And I'm also gonna add a timer and a high score system, which you're gonna see later in the video, so stay tuned, I guess. Now, making the block generation is pretty easy, because I just thought that it's basically like Flappy Bird, where the pipes keep on generating endlessly. And fortunately, I already have created a Flappy Bird knockoff, so all I had to do was just Control-C, Control-V the code from that, and then change up a couple things, bing bam boom, you have the endless game mode. And after that, it was capture the flag, which is probably the most complicated out of those. I mean, firstly I had to make the level way bigger than the other ones, because, well, I need a lot more space. I'm thinking that you can have like, this is a team game of course, so just have like two people on both teams. Then I need enough space for 4 players to just swing around constantly and grapple everywhere. So that's why the level needs to be big. After that I had to make the flags and the stand where the flags are on. and for the sake of the video, I'm going to call them flag holders, because that's what I do in the game. And the way the flags work is that at the start of the game, they are locked onto the flag holders. But if you grab them with a grappling rope, then they're no longer locked on, and now you can move them freely. And then if you put them onto a flag holder and then let go of the grappling hook, then it locks onto them. So basically, if it's not on the flag holder, then it's like freely being able to move. But if it is on a flag holder, the only thing that can move it is if you grab it with a grappling gun. And for that level, I also put a little trampoline in the middle, and the way that works is it just checks which speed you had, like what the speed of the collision was. So the faster you hit it, the faster it sends you up, I guess. After that, small little spinner objects work the same as the big one, but they're a little tinier. Now the way to get the points is kind of just what it is in regular old capture the flag. I mean, you need to keep your flag on your base, and then if you get the enemy's flag and then put it onto your base whilst you still have your flag, then you get the point. So you need to have both flags on your base to get a point. And then after that, I need to make a little scoring system, which thankfully I already have from an old Pong game that I made. So just yoink and then put that on basketball and capture the flag. And that, kids, is why you never delete your old projects, because somehow, some way in the future, you may just need one of the codes from that game. And in basketball, it's obvious. In Capture the Flag, it was a little more difficult because, well, I needed to check if both of the flags were in position, but I got that eventually. And also in basketball, there's a thing where if you score, then the ball goes back into the center, and then there's like a little mini countdown there, just so that one team can't keep on farming points again and again, and the other team doesn't even have a chance to play. And this was when the Great Reckoning happened, and I had lost, my hard drive and potentially all my games. But when I got it back, I started working on the main menu of the game. And to do that, I had to make a logo for it, and I had already sketched out some ideas of how a logo and also how a main menu should look in one of my sketchbooks. I'll probably show a picture on screen. And all I had to do was just digitalize that. And after that, I made the buttons and a temporary name for the game, which is, I think it's called Grappling Game, and also the logo is probably gonna get an update sooner or later. And the 3 buttons I chose to have was Endless, Tutorial, and the Racing Level. And the reason why I only have those 3 buttons, and also the reason why the main menu looks this bad and I've decided to stick with it for now, is because of the big announcement part of the script. And it says that this is the big announcement, and that is I'm going to be putting out a demo of the game onto itch. Just has the tutorial and a level and the endless mode, but still it's a demo. And the reason why I'm doing this is at the start when I was talking about online and how I wanted the player to feel just perfect before I move on. Yeah, the demo is just so that you can play the game and then you can say, anything about the player. So if you think that the player is a little too slow or a little too fast or just something's off about him, then just tell me, because that is the entire reason why I'm putting it out. Now, you would assume that that's the, ending of the video, but there is just one more thing I would like to talk about, and that is the fact that I added a high score system. So now in all the levels that aren't like basketball or capture the flag, so in the endless mode and in the racing mode, in most of the single player levels, there's going to be a timer on the top of the screen, and then once you beat the level, then you can get the high score and also the time that you spent to beat the level now. And I think that's cool, because this is the first time I've ever made anything that saves through like multiple runs of the game. So you can play the game and then you can close it again and then you can play it and then your high score is still saved. So I think that's cool. And also that's kind of about it. thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the devlog, then like and subscribe, and also check out the game that's probably in a link in the description, and play it eventually when it releases on Steam. That would be pretty nice. And if you have any feedback, like after you've played the game on itch, then definitely comment down below, and also I may need some help with the name, so also comment those down below. And I'd love to hear like thoughts, feedback, and yeah, that's everything. So I'll go now.